Welcome to the Update 1.101 dev server. I'm going to be going over all the ships being added in the update and give my general thoughts on them. There are a few things I need to mention first. I'm currently using a different microphone because I don't have access to my normal one. I don't know whether this will be better or worse, so let me know in the comments below. I'm also getting to this a little bit late, and I'm going to be a little woozy because I just got a shot, so if I say anything stupid, I at least have plausible deniability. Anyway, I'll get started now. So first is the USS Northampton. It's a bit strange with its current implementation because it's after the Portland. The Portland is pretty much an upgraded Northampton. The only thing the Northampton has over the Portland is a slightly thicker mid-belt, and other than that, it is pretty much worse in every way. The overall protection and survivability are worse, the main cannons are the same, it has less anti-air, it's generally just weaker. I think that before this goes to the live server, it will probably be moved before the Portland, but even then, it doesn't really serve a purpose. There's not much of a reason to add it. But, you know what, I'm glad to have it, because the camo looks really pretty. Next up is Germany, who, didn't actually get any new ships. So, I guess I'm skipping them this time. Now comes the USSR, who got the PR-50. It's a frigate at 4.0, it has 3 100mm cannons and 2 dual 37s in the back. It also has 2 torpedoes. Only 2 of them. This one looks kind of interesting. I think it will be very good against aircraft. I think it will also be very good against PT boats and maybe other frigates. However, I do think it will struggle against destroyers. It has a bit more armor than many frigates, however, it doesn't really matter. It's very thin and spread out. It won't really stop anything of note, maybe light machine guns. It also has an anti-air radar, which should be helpful in what seems to be its perceived role. I don't think it'll be particularly useful, however, as a late spawn in a match with lots of aircraft, it can be pretty good. It also comes directly after the Groza, and right before the PR-159. Next up is Great Britain, who got the HMS Peacock. Out of all the ships in the new patch, this is actually one of the more interesting ones for me. It's a sub-chaser that only has a 76mm Auto Melara cannon. It has no secondaries, it also has no secondary unlockable weapons, it just has the 76. Weirdly enough, it doesn't actually seem to have a radar, this holds up in test drives too. However, it does seem likely that it will get one, so I think it probably will by the time it hits the live server. I think this may actually be the best platform so far for the 76. The current Spadaviero has a lot of stability issues, meaning that it's really hard to hit anything with it, and it also dies quickly. The ship is significantly more survivable, despite its lack of armor, so I think it should deal a lot more damage than the Spadaviero, and allow the player to actually aim well. I think this one will actually be quite good. It'll be a good PT boat clubber, it'll struggle against destroyers, and it'll be good at anti-air. Kind of like the ones with the USSR. This trend is going to continue into Japan. Here's the Chidori. It has the same guns as the Motsuki, the starting Japanese destroyer, though it only has 2 of them. However, it has overall 10 25mm autocannons. This one seems like it will be good against aircraft, maybe against PT boats and frigates, and then it'll struggle against destroyers. Overall, I think this one might be a little weaker than the others. However, it does remain to be seen. It's rather slow, but a bit more survivable than the other ones, and the 25mm are particularly powerful against other small ships. Next up is the Akibono, which is a premium. It costs around 3,000 golden eagles, and it actually has a higher reward modifier than the PGO2. I think this one will be a pretty good premium grinder. It's actually quite cheap for what it is. It doesn't have much armor, and it does have exposed ammunition. However, it should work as a good glass cannon against PT boats and aircraft. It is also quite a bit more survivable than some of the previous ones I've shown here. It does have the exposed ammunition though, so depending on how damage models work in the next update, it could be really good or really bad. It's pretty much a premium version of the Ikazuchi that's just a little bit better. Now onto the last nation I want to cover, Italy. They're receiving the MAS 561 as a new reserve ship. This is actually replacing the MAS 555, and it's actually quite a bit better. It's quite similar in most ways, however it does have an additional 50 cal in the front and one behind the bridge, if that's large enough to be considered a bridge. This means that effectively, it's about the same boat, with a little more firepower. Interestingly, the 20mm is actually considered an auxiliary cannon, and while the 50 cals are not modeled yet, they do seem to be the primary cannons. However, the Italian 20mm is actually kinda bad, so I do think that these 12.7s might legitimately be better in the long run, so this might be a direct upgrade to Italy's reserve ship. Second to last comes the, I'm sorry I'm going to butcher this, Comandante Medigli d'Oro. It's an Italian destroyer that has 4 135mm cannons, and then a bunch of 37mm autocannons in the center of the ship, along with 6 torpedoes. I think that this one actually has a certain role it will fill. In up tiers, it should actually be particularly good due to its AP-HEB shells. They have quite the high penetration and explosive filler for what they are. In an up tier, I think this destroyer will fare better against cruisers than many comparable ones, just because it has more penetration and more filler, so it might be able to damage the internal components of cruisers that other ships may be unable to hurt. It also works as a pretty good anti-airship due to all the 37s, so I think overall this should be a good addition to Italy's 4.3 lineup. Last comes the Zara, which seems to be the ship that people are most hyped for in this update. It has the same main guns as the Trento, 8 8-inch cannons. These also have the same terrible dispersion, meaning it's really hard to hit anything. It's relatively slow at 59 km per hour and has an incredibly terrible anti-air loadout, though it does have rather thick and well-designed armor. This pretty much covers the entire midsection of the ship and the ammunition. However, it remains to be seen how effective this and other ammunition protection will be in the next update, as there are some major DM changes that are a bit too complex for me to get into at the moment. Overall, I think that the Zara should be an incredibly tanky vessel. It's kinda hard to tell how it's going to perform though. It'll be able to take a lot of damage, but it'll struggle to dish out any in return. While these 8-inch cannons are powerful, it's incredibly hard to actually hit with them. I do think overall this will be one of the better ships in the game. I think it will be slightly worse than the Admiral Hipper and Prince Eugen overall. However, that may be wrong depending on the DM changes. It should be better than the American heavy cruisers. However, I think the American light cruisers will still beat it in a battle, as will the Japanese Mogami. Overall though, I think that this is a much needed addition to Italy and gives them a very viable top ship. I do think this is going to make them a significantly better overall country at top tier, however they are still lacking in lineups compared to all of the other major countries, as they only have 5.7, and even then, it does have some issues. Anyway, thank you for watching. I might try to put out a video on the damage model changes in mines, however I'm unsure about that. I have less time than normal because I had to get that shot earlier and that took a lot of my dev server time away. And it's also going to take me a long time of testing and research to make sure that I actually know what I'm talking about on it. However, if I don't cover it from this dev server, I will most certainly cover it within a month of the live server going up, so stay tuned for that. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more Naval content. I'm going to be covering everything as soon as I can once it's on the live server, so stay tuned for that.